Hi. Over the next 4 days, I have 4 different challenges for people. And you're watching this and you're seeing the church in the background and there's a cross in the background there, etc. You're thinking, is this when the pastor, the minister starts to Bible thump me? And the answer is no. What we're trying to do over the next 4 days is challenge people. And challenge people through biblical characters, yes, but also about human nature. And so today I want to talk to you about 2 characters, David and Goliath. You might well have heard the story many years ago while you're at school, or when you're at Sunday school, or just a family friend, or within a book. And it talks about a man called Goliath and a shepherd boy called David. And it's one of those moments, I suppose, in stories that you realise that you've got a young guy called David, who's around about 16, 17 as a shepherd boy, who's going to take on a 12 to 15 foot man in armour, armed to the death with a sword and a shield and a spear, etc., with a whole army behind him, because no one else would fight him. And interestingly enough, that what I always glean from this story is that David goes on it head on. He doesn't try to go around. He doesn't try to talk the person out of it. He gets head on because it's a giant that needs to be dealt with. Now, in our own lives, on a day-to-day basis, we have giants that we deal with. And I'm very sure we've all been through one thing, I'm going to say, shape, form or another. We're told by the experts that the 3 biggest pressurized things you can ever go through is marriage. That's not such a bad thing. Moving house, moving location, or death, which is kind of permanent to a certain degree, but obviously not if you believe in eternal life. In our lifetimes, we're all going to experience those 3 big giants, but within those 3 things also, many other things happen. You know, we have giants hit our lives, like, you know, we're told we've got some terrible illness. We have a pandemic suddenly in our country. Oh, we're kind of going through that now, right? We might actually find out that someone's cheated on us, either financially or quite literally in a relationship physically. And these massive great giants hit us. And as human beings, we don't always deal with it head on, do we? We like to go around things. Maybe it's just the British culture. We like to talk things through. We like to wait on things, or we like to go, you know, and pick up a bit of a 4x2 and go after somebody, which is clearly the wrong thing to be doing. That's not even going really in sense of what goes on in our lives as dealing things head on. We make excuses for things, and we deal with things which are very difficult with anybody's life. And there's hundreds of things clearly I could bring into this. But I'm just talking generic at the moment. So I know there's exceptions to the rules in everything I'm saying today and over the next 3 days, but I'm just talking generically. And how do we deal and how do we work with those giants in our lives? Do we run away? Or do we try to go around things? Or do we talk ourselves out of actually having to deal with it, or expect someone else to deal with it? Do we find ourselves with our backs against the wall, either financially or socially or physically? Are we literally being bullied by somebody? And these are the things and aspects, I think, in life that we need to start looking at and dealing with. And we all have a different coping mechanism. For me, I'm a Christian man. I take my dog for a walk in the mornings and I pray. Not that the dog will go out of control or anything like that, but it gives me that space, that time to think things through. And I start my day by talking to God and saying, I need to be within your grace today, because there's so much stuff going on, so many giants. I need to be discerning. I need to be wise in how I deal with things, because there's so much that can be thrown at us in life, and I'm no exception. And I give my day to someone who's got a 5-letter word name, stronger than any 4-letter word I could actually say, which will offend you. Although sometimes I say this name, it does offend people. And the name is Jesus. And I give my time to him. I speak to him about things. Jesus says, you know, you shouldn't actually have to carry the yoke of burden by yourself. And I believe that's absolutely true. There are ways we can deal with these giants. We can go talk to people, and clearly in the world, in the secular world, there are many experts, many counselors who we can talk to. But actually, also, God is free. We can talk to God. We can talk to Jesus about the problems, the burdens on our shoulders, if you like, the yoke, the heaviness that we feel. And there's a way forward. We don't need to run around our giant. We do not need to avoid our giant. We don't need to pretend it's not there anymore, etc., etc. And the only thing I could actually say within this segment is, if you've got a giant in your life and everything, and I'm not trying to poo-poo what's going on, because actually some people's giants, some people's problems, into other people are insignificant, but vice versa. So everybody has a different thing going on in their lives, and this is for everything generically and everyone. Is that what I'd say right now is, if you've got a giant in your life, think about the possibility that there is a God. Think about there is a possibility that there is a Jesus. Think about the possibility, the fact that they can actually help you in your certain circumstances. Now, to be clear, as an example, a few years back, I met a man, and he was in a bit of a state. And he said to me, Jason, he said, if I pray to Jesus right now and ask him to help me, will he remove all my debt? And I said, well, Jesus does do miraculous things, but the reality of that is probably no, but he'll help us work through things. He'll bring us into the right situations to talk to the right people, and actually give us the right discerning wisdom, if you like, to help us through that particular situation. There are also many people who are gifted within local churches who are happy to help. And it doesn't necessarily mean that if the church is going to help you in some way and everything, you want to commit yourself to that particular church. You don't want to put your backside on their chair or their pew, as I always say. But you might start to realise and be thankful, possibly, that there is a God, and he can help us, and he can help us get through all sorts of giants in our lives. We don't need to be alone. Life can be scary. And I totally appreciate that, and I do understand this. But I also believe that it's not so scary if we have our God walking with us. So if you're going through something, don't hold it in with yourself. Regardless of what I've said today and everything, I am available if you want to talk to somebody. There are other people within churches who would happily talk to people. If you find yourself in any kind of situation, there are avenues that we could point you to that could help you whatever you're going through. But don't hide. Don't run around it. Don't avoid it. Let's deal with these things head on together.